Hello mga ka-learners! We are almost halfway in our journey to growing our own vegetable garden. We have previously discussed how to prepare fertilized soil as well as protecting our plants using chemical pesticides. However, there are environment-friendly ways to manage pests and protect our plants. That is what we are learning today. In this lesson, we will Number 1, identify the environment-friendly methods of pest control. And number 2, explain the advantages of the integrated pest control approach. There are a number of methods used in controlling pests that do not involve the use of chemical pesticides. These are the mechanical, cultural, and biological methods of pest control. Do you think these methods are effective? Mechanical control. This method involves the physical or manual removal of pests from the farm. The use of nylon nets. This method involves the use of nets with small holes to cover your plant seedlings for the first 30 to 40 days of planting. This will prevent insects from harming the seedlings in their critical stages. Rogging or pruning. This involves the removal and burning of plant parts that are infected with pests or diseases. This practice will help prevent the spread of pests and diseases in your farm. Manual removal. This method involves removing insect pests, weeds, or infected plants with your hands. You should inspect your farm or garden regularly for these pests. Pest traps. Some farmers use light traps. These traps use light to lure insects. Some traps make use of insect hormones or chemicals that attract male insects toward the trap. Cultural control. This method involves the control of pests through good soil and plant management. The use of fertilizers. The combined use of organic and chemical fertilizers on plant crops will make crops healthy and resistant to pests and diseases. Planting pest-resistant crop varieties. By planting pest-resistant crop varieties, pest infestations and diseases can be greatly reduced. Ask seedling banks or local government units about the availability of pest-resistant crop varieties. There are some native crops such as cucumber, saluyot, and sweet potato that are more resistant to pests and diseases than modern imported vegetables. Intercropping with aromatic herbs. Aromatic herbs repel many insect pests that ruin your regular crops. By planting these aromatic herbs with the regular crops, you will greatly reduce pest infestations on your farm. Examples of aromatic herbs are onion, garlic, parsley, and ginger. Companion cropping. There are different plants that can be planted together. They are called companion plants. These plants complement each other because they do not compete with each other for soil nutrients. Most companion crops repel the pests of their companion crop. Therefore, each of these crops protect one another from pest infestation. However, there are antagonistic crops or crops that should not be placed together in one seed bed. Antagonistic crops compete with each other for nutrients in the soil and attract the same kind of pests. Look at the table below for examples of companion and antagonistic crops. Crop rotation. This method employs the planting of a certain crop at a time, one after another until you complete the cycle. Then you should begin again with the first crop. The plants involved in the rotation usually provide the nutrients and conditions needed by the next crop to be planted. For example, onions may repel insect pests that infest tomato plants. Deep plowing. This method involves the deep plowing of the soil to kill the weeds. The weeds deprive the plant crops of soil nutrients. They may also compete for sunlight and bring plant diseases that may harm the crops. Biological control. This method makes use of friendly organisms that eat, kill, or control pests. Provide an environment suitable for lizards, frogs, and other insect-eating animals to control the population of insect pests on your farm. Breed friendly insects. Some farmers hatch the eggs of some friendly insects and breed them. These insects include praying mantises, spiders, dragonflies, and ladybugs. These should be released on the farm when they are old enough. They will eat the pests that destroy the crops. Microbial agents. Some microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, or nematodes are parasites of insect pests. These microorganisms are harmless to man and domestic animals. Some laboratories produce them in many numbers and sell them to farmers. The farmers apply them on the farm to control the population of insect pests. Sterile insect technique. In other countries, some male insect pests are sterilized by exposing them to harmful gamma radiation. These insects won't be able to reproduce. Once these sterile insects are released on the farms, they will look for a mate. They will try to reproduce, but they will not be able to do so. This will therefore stop the reproduction cycle of these insect pests. There are so many ways to control pests. The big question is, what is the most effective method of pest control and management? The common method used by farmers and is deemed the most effective is to combine the minimal use of chemical pesticide with environment-friendly methods of pest control. This is called the integrated pest control approach. There are many possible ways of combining methods of pest control. One combination is the planting of pest-resistant crop varieties and then using a special insecticide that kills only the pests without harming the good insects. You've learned a lot. Let's pause for a bit to remember what we have learned so far by answering the following questions. Number 1. How can the use of fertilizers help control pests? Number 2. Different plants can always be planted together to repel pests. Give your reaction to this statement. Number 3. What do you think are the limitations of the biological control method of pest control? Do you think it can eliminate the population of insect pests? Explain your answer. Number 4. What is the integrated pest control approach? Number 5. Why is the integrated pest control approach more effective and environment-friendly? Let's compare our answers. Fertilizers can make the crops healthy and therefore resistant to pest infestation. Crops that lack plant nutrients are prone to pests. This way, the application of fertilizers is a method for pest control. There are companion crops or different kinds of plants which can be planted together. But there are also plants called antagonistic crops which, when planted together, may weaken their resistance to pest infestation. Therefore, not all plants can be planted together. The biological method of pest control, like the breeding of good insects that will prey upon the insect pests, has its limitations. This method can reduce the population of insect pests, but the balance of nature will allow some insect pests to survive. These insect pests that do survive can still do some damage to farms. The integrated pest control approach uses both pesticides and environment-friendly methods of pest control. It aims to effectively reduce or eliminate pests in the garden while minimizing the damage to the environment brought about by the use of chemicals. The integrated pest control approach combines the effectiveness of pesticides and environment-friendly methods of pest control. It also minimizes the use of pesticides. That is why it is more environment-friendly. It makes use of a combination of biological, cultural, mechanical, and chemical methods to control pests. Combinations are more effective than just applying a single method for pest control. In this lesson, you have learned that pesticides are chemicals used to kill harmful insects, weeds, and fungi that harm or destroy plant crops. The use of non-persistent pesticides such as synthetic organic chemicals and plant extracts is much safer and more environment-friendly than the use of persistent and permanent pesticides. Relying on chemical pesticides alone to control pests causes heavy damage on the environment. Relying on environment-friendly methods alone to control pests is not very effective. The integrated pest control approach uses a combination of pesticides and environment-friendly methods to control pests. The integrated pest control approach reduces the use of harmful chemical pesticides that affect the environment and people. Congratulations on finishing this lesson and learning so much about pesticides and how to protect your plants. I hope you have now understood another important requirement for maintaining healthy, pest-free plants. One more step and you are now ready to grow your own garden. See you again on the next episode, mga ka-learners!